Hello and welcome to Pirate Radio this evening, guys. I'm Greg, joined as always by Cadus and Commander X. And thank you very much for tuning in to this fine Monday evening's Pirate Radio episodes. I think it's 31, but I couldn't tell you. I didn't check beforehand. We are basically going to be talking I-46, Season 13, and Nations Cup pretty much this week. Not very much going on past that. Let's start with some of the team news for new teams and stuff like that, and updates from some of the teams. We'll do I-46 right at the end, I think, just so if everyone that's waiting for I-46 news can hang around till the end. This rest of it won't take very long. So we'll start off with a new team, going to be Skeege's team. I don't think they have any idea of a name, but it's kind of just a general idea of a team so far. I don't know much about it, so I thought I'd let Zavi tell you because he's the one that found out all the information. So go for it, Zavi.
Basically, Skeege and Pognon have both said they're starting a team, and both of them seem to focus around Luzu and Skeege, and they're all sort of happy to play together. But then Pognon sort of is convinced it's him, Luzu, and Skeege, and then maybe old Grandma, plus some scouts, for scouts are neither here nor there. Whereas Skeege seems to be favouring towards Brago, but Pognon doesn't seem to know this until now, obviously, if they listen. So, it's just going to be like an experiment. We're going to play together and see how it goes, sort of post I-46. And with presumably looking to be around top of Div 1 next season.
Okay. Well, they don't have that much time to play around with it because the sign-ups for I-46, for Season 13, are they open now or are they opening in a few days? Maybe at the end of the week.
Monday, I think. The day after I-46, they start.
Okay, so, and they normally have the Season 13 sign-ups open for about a week or something like that. That's how long they have it up for.
I think
5 or 6 days.
I think they're
and then
extended this time. Like it's 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something like that. Like when I first saw it, I thought the sign-ups were way too close to after I-46 because obviously no one's really going to be prepared. But then I saw they were actually going to last at least 2 weeks, maybe as many as 3.
Okay, that's cool. So it gives some people time to play around with their lineups at least. So this sort of lineup, I think it's a bit weird. This Pognon thinks something's happening. Skeege thinks possibility of 2 things happening. I guess it's Skeege's team, and Pognon thinks that Skeege set it up with him, and now Skeege is just deciding, Brago wants to play now. Do I want to play with him? Luzu is obviously a solid soldier, and Grandma is actually playing really well at the moment, I have to say. Like the past few times I played against him. So I think they'll probably end up going with Brago personally, is what I think they'll do, because Skeege and Luzu have played with Brago in the old Deserto. When they needed players to fill the roster, they used Luzu and Brago were 2 of the people along with Mighty Me they used. So I think they're probably more likely to go with Brago, in my opinion, and it'll probably be a better decision, in my opinion as well, to make their team better. What do you guys think?
I personally prefer Pognon as a demo to Brago, individually, but if you're having Luzu and Grandma as the 2 soldiers, there's not a natural roamer of those 2, so I think if you have Pognon, he's going to also be quite medic dependent, whereas I think Brago probably has it in him to be more independent, which I think really will be required for that team, because there's not, in Luzu and Grandma's a pocket, Luzu's a pocket, so if you have a medic intensive demo on top of all of that, I think you're going to run into problems. But I don't know. I personally prefer Pognon to Brago overall. I'm not sure if maybe the soldier combination there is probably the bigger problem than having Pognon. But if that's the soldiers they want to go with, then I'd say Brago is probably the better fit.
Okay.
Well, Luzu and Pognon do have a lot of experience playing to each other, so I don't. It'll be hard, but I know what you mean. Luzu and Grandma both prefer to be around the medic, and if it just swamps them, there won't be enough heals. Obviously, I think a lot of it, how good their team is, hinges on what scouts they can get. But yeah, I don't really know. They've got no plans really there, so.
Are there any scouts available at the moment to
Kyler
for a team? Kyler, is that the only person? Kyler's a good scout though, but wasn't Kyler looking to join Tarkus? Oh no, yeah, we're talking about that a bit later. Okay, yeah, so that means Kyler's available. Okay.
Doesn't really matter which scouts they get if you have 3 fucking heavies that are all hankering after heals all game long, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, having said that, Grandma has been playing Roma a bit recently. That's what I saw him doing. I thought he was pretty decent at it.
What?
The intention is Grandma to be Roma, yeah.
Yeah.
I assume Grandma would be the Roma. I don't know, maybe he can. I've never really seen him do it in a serious setting, so I don't know.
Okay.
Risky, man, risky.
Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, they'll probably, as you say, looking to be top Div 1 rather than looking for the Prem spot. I don't know. But they would easily hit that, I'd have thought. Like, especially, a couple of weeks to sort the team out, getting straight into Div 1. It'll be definitely a good team for Div 1 and increase our talent in Div 1. Let's move on anyway. Let's talk about the next big deal, which, of course, after I-46, Jackal is leaving Deserto. So that means that the Deserto, the new Prem team, will be out without a soldier, and they are actually trialing Daleth as Pocket, I assume. Is that right? Does
Yeah,
Jackal play
that's
Pocket?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, Jackal was Pocket. Yeah,
So,
basically, Jackal starts uni or work. He starts something, whichever means he can't commit to full time. So he's just going to go off class as demo in Div 5, have a bit
It's
of fun.
university, I'm fairly sure.
okay.
Huh?
That's cool. Yeah, university is what Kate said.
Yeah.
All right.
So, Jackal, has played for that team for quite a while now. Could have sworn like at least 2 seasons. Sounds about right. And Daleth, formerly being Prem Pocket Soldier, hasn't really played for the past month, so it'll probably take him a little bit of time to get used to playing with a new soldier. But Daleth is definitely good enough to join that team and progress onwards with them. It's probably a really good place for him to go and try and keep pushing forwards in Prem. As for what they'll do with him, what do you guys reckon?
I reckon Daleth's like a massive upgrade in all departments over Jackal, I think.
Do you?
I also think Daleth's the best soldier looking at the moment by a mile as well. So I think it's a no-brainer. I think the trial's going to be more of just a front, just like a necessary bureaucratic
Get used to
thing.
him.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Kadis, what about you?
Yeah, Daleth's a good pickup. I mean, I kind of thought Grandma would go for that role. I think, I don't know, speaking encompassing both the teams, I think it would make more sense for Grandma to go to that team and Daleth to go to the other team in terms of what works best for both teams, but obviously no one gives a shit what works better for other teams. So Daleth, I don't know, Daleth or Grandma. I really think either could probably do the job in that team. Daleth has a little bit more experience, but I don't know. I think Grandma is more of like a vocal player than Daleth, and I really think that team really needs someone else who's quite vocal and going to add a little bit more control to the team, because playing against them, they got some good skills and shit, but they're I don't know, brain dead doesn't really cover it. They literally are I don't know, they play so strange sometimes. It just seems like no one's communicating and they're just all running around doing their own thing. And I think Grandma would remedy that situation more than Daleth, and I think that's really what they would need to progress. But Daleth is sick, there's no doubt about that. He'll definitely do the job, but I don't know, speaking broadly, I'd go for Grandma personally. I go for Grandma all the time anyway, so it doesn't matter.
That's cool. Yeah, I stand by Daleth personally. I think he would fit brilliant into the team and push him forward for Prem. Let's move on to the next team, which is just confirmation of Tarkus's actual confirmed lineup now. So it's Tarkus, Polon Medic, Calho Roaming Soldier, Zappis, Erectus on Scout,
Wrong.
and maybe GDK on Demo Man.
Wrong. You're
Really?
wrong. I'm getting the scoop right now from Tarkus.
Oh,
no
brilliant.
GDK. Erectus is going to stay on demo. Apparently GDK
I've heard this as
going
well.
to be in Temu's team.
Yeah, I've
Temu's
just
got a
mixed
team,
up.
everybody.
I
I'm
have the
excited to see
lineup.
that one fold.
It's going to be Timey's master plan is 2 nights a week, officials only basically, so as in one day before officials and the official. The planned lineup is Timey on Medic, GDK Demo, Wolf and Mini Moose on Soldier, and Scouts yet to be confirmed.
Smells like bullshit to me.
Yeah, that smells like a team that's going to fold within 3 games.
Is Mini Moose even going to play? I know that. I know that there's not much time requirements, but I thought he literally didn't.
You didn't have
He-
time to play at uni.
Never even
He
seen him in
says-
pick when he's at uni.
He said, "All right, try me out." To Timu, apparently.
It's interesting. He'll probably flake on them though. Just gonna call it now. I mean, he seemed pretty keen about his studies. I don't know if it's the social side or the study side, but when he's going into 3rd year now, he's going to be probably more occupied than he has been in the previous 2 years when he seemingly had no interest to play TF2 at uni. So I think maybe when he gets back, he'll probably say, fuck it, I don't want to play with Tamu anyway.
He's been on a team with Timu before.
Who was the other soldier in that, did you say?
Wolf.
Well, that doesn't sound very fun to begin with. Temu, GDK, and Wolf. Like, I've never really spoken to Wolf, but GDK, I don't think even speaks English beyond team comms, and Temu is hardly a bucket of fun.
Timmy was loads of fun
Well,
in
he's
some
fun, but
ways.
he's kind of like gets on your nerves a little bit.
I've
When
also
Temu's
just
like the
been
most fun person in a team, probably gonna win.
I've just been told that Tamu's trying to get Gubbins in on Scout as well, just to liven up the atmosphere of Mumble even more.
I don't think that's gonna
Liven,
happen. I've heard
liven
like
up the atmosphere and balance out the skill.
I've heard other things, like other plans for Gubbins, so I don't think that will happen.
What plans for Gubbins? Oh, no,
Do we
let's
not
not
have
worry about
this?
it.
Do we not have this on the list?
No?
Yeah, I think it
I
was
don't
on
really
last
know.
week's list.
I can't really remember. It's that team we talked about last week with Sparkle. Apparently, Sparkle doesn't hate Gubbins. Don't worry, everybody. It was just a misunderstanding. So Gubbins is back on.
Right.
Everything's a real mess at the moment in between because loads of people don't want to commit to anything before I-46 at the same time as for people who aren't going to I-46 trying to get stuff sorted so they can sign up and like get matches going. So it'll be interesting to see where everyone sort of ends up.
Yeah, the post-LAN teams that get set up very, very rushed. They're probably a bunch of folds as well, I assume. But let's talk about Tarkus' team because we did try and talk about it, but we then started talking about Timu's team instead. So they got Erexis on demo. Who's their other second scout then? Is Samsy still scouting for them? No, Samsy's
What the
scouting
fuck
for...
are you on about?
I don't even know, man. Who's their second scout? Go.
Doesn't
Oh,
want.
I don't fucking know. Apparently, okay, this is again going off topic, but this will help clarify the situation a little bit. It will not be Kyler because Kyler, as well as Coins, have both joined that legendary team Naughty Badman. So that's
think
just
that-
turned into a big Portuguese clusterfuck. Goodbye, everybody else who was
The
involved.
next equilibrium.
Literally, they're just going to gradually phase out everyone else.
Just sitting there listening to these Portuguese comms, like I have no idea what's even going on anymore. I don't know why I'm here. Just
Does that mean Haunter's finally given up on Buffalo Bill playing with him?
I can only imagine so.
Alright, okay. Let's talk about the next team that I don't know what we're going to be talking about because there's PMs everywhere from people. Justice League won't actually be entering the next season, guys, unfortunately. So that's going to be at least one extra Div 1 team spot available. So one of these formed teams will probably be dropped in there. The Crack Clan team is now official. So Ads, Retshock, Matnon, Ips, Fadeshep, Samsy is the official team. I talked to Matnon the other day and asked him when he was joining the army. He said it's 3 months' time, so they'll definitely be going on for the next season at least, that team, and probably end up replacing him in 3 months' time. What was someone PM me about Quad's team? Do you know anything about that?
It smells like bullshit.
Smells like
Oh wait,
bullshit.
no. Wasn't Quad's team the one I was referencing with
the
Gubbins?
Sparkle, Gubbins, and the other name just escaped me right now. But
Yeah, Sparkle, Gubbins, Quad. That's about it. No, there's other people. I can't remember.
Okay, so it's kind of like a reform of the...
old exotic team,
Yeah.
kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, I think is Natural involved in that. I mean, Natural suddenly seems to be floating around the
Oh, yeah,
place, and he tends to go hand in hand with that crew.
They kicked Natural last time, so I don't know how willing they'd be to pick him up again. After you kick someone, you don't really turn back to them and go, maybe we were wrong. Do you want to come play again? It's not really going to be smooth.
With the players they have, I don't imagine they're going to be super fucking keen though, so maybe they wouldn't mind. Like, it sounds more like they'd be, trying but not really giving a shit how it goes. If you know what I mean?
Sounds pretty much like the old exotic lineup, really, where they will be keen some nights and totally trolling the rest of the time.
No, that was more Timu's mood, which determined what state they would appear in these days.
Of course, yeah, because that's when Timey was playing, and then he said he wouldn't play in Div 1 again. Isn't that what he said? Oh, I don't remember. Anyway, let's move on. We've talked about these teams, these random teams that probably next week none of them will exist for long enough. Let's move on to our results for the Highlander Nations Cup. I think the final actually happened like the day of our last podcast, and we forgot about it completely. So the winners of the Highlander Nations Cup in the final was, of course, Germany. They won both
Of
maps,
course.
Converge, 1-0 on Converge in like extra time. So after the 20 minutes of the time, they then had to play extra time because the intel hadn't been dropped, and it went on for like another 5 minutes or something like that.
And that
So,
map was a resounding fucking success, wasn't it?
oh my god! Oh, did you? Me and you watched that, didn't we, Cadis?
I don't
Like
think so.
together. Oh, it was the
I
most
might have just
dull.
blacked out though. I can't really remember.
It, it was the dullest viewing experience ever. Jesus fucking Christ! I would advise not watching Converge back again if you're going to watch the Highlander Nations Cup final. But I'd advise watching Viaduct. That was quite fun. But that actually went 3-0 to Germany. So Germany completely shut out France in the finals. And they won the money. I don't know how much it was. I think it was just under £1,000.
Just over 1,000, I think.
Just over 1,000. There you go.
I think it works out at something like £120 per player or something like that.
Okay, that's a pretty decent amount of money, really. And then, of course, France came second, won a little bit of money as well. And the third place, the bronze place match, actually happened the night of the new update, so everyone was just crashing out all the time because of all the bugs in it, all the HUD bugs. And it was Sweden versus Finland, and Sweden won it 2-0, shutting out Lakeside 3-0, and then winning upward 2-0 as well. So, congratulations to Sweden.
I think Hildreth really just ruined this cup for everyone. Like
Why?
The Swedish side of the bracket was so fucked up basically because of well, not really because of just because of England's like shortcomings in the group stage when they didn't really use their proper roster, and then England, because England should have been on the other side of the bracket.
Oh yeah.
So you had England, Sweden, and Germany, who, like, realistically speaking, were probably like they had the closest games. Like England, Sweden was down to the wire. Germany, Sweden, on a day where Sweden weren't particularly performing, was pretty close to that map, I think.
They didn't have Savik playing either, did they? So
yeah, and then Germany went on to win it. So you have like those two really close games between three teams that were all on the same side of the bracket, like going into it. So like it kind of messed up, like in terms of how close the finals could have been, and indeed the bronze place. But don't worry, it's just Hildreth's fault.
So let's move on from the Highlander now. There's not really much we can talk about that because none of us are very in depth, know very much about.
I don't really need to be in
everything
depth about Highlander after the Germans won the entire tournament and then said, "Yeah, we didn't really ever practice. We just kind of turned up on the day and DM'd it." So
sounds about right then. Perfect.
Kind of undermines this sort of argument that Highlander takes so much more, whatever it's called.
Well, keep in mind it is like a nations games. Like, there's not really much. Only really Sweden were practicing, I think. And they even then weren't doing it very much. So it was basically just like 9 people slung together on the day a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think there were some other teams like Russia and some other teams like that were practicing, but Sweden and England didn't practice. But nor did Germany. Or sorry, Sweden did, but Germany and England didn't. So, but yeah, let's move on to the actual 6v6 Nations Cup then. We have all the quarter-final results here. Why don't I let Xavi go through them because he knows more about it. Has the list up.
Yeah, basically, England v Germany, we covered last week's already happened. England went through. And this week, Denmark beat Portugal in straight 2 maps, 3-2 on Gully Wash and 5-3 on Granary, which means Denmark will be meeting England in the semi-final.
Okay. Let's
Yay,
go through the rest
Denmark.
of the results before we do the... in fact, let's talk about Denmark. That's a pretty good result. I thought Portugal would win that, honestly. Or did Portugal not have a team of their best players?
Was Kylo there? Is really the only important question.
I think Kylo was there.
Then it was a good win for Denmark.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, everyone else in Portugal is just like mediocre players propping up Kylo's skill. Like they're just like, they're the spoon that delivers Kylo into the opponent.
And washed up TCM players. That's the rest of Portugal.
TCMB team.
Right. So yes, that's actually a really good result for Denmark. But they'll be going and playing England now in the semi-final. The other results, Xavi, why don't you go through them and we'll talk about our predictions for the other ones.
On the other side of the bracket, Sweden beat Finland in a 3-map series. Sweden won Badlands 5-4, then lost Granary 4-3 on a golden cap, then won Snakewater 6-3.
Wow. Should we talk about that game?
Yeah,
now, before we talk about the next one. That was a really, really close game. Beforehand, we did our predictions, and I think all 3 of us thought Finland were going to win, didn't we? Or did you guys think Sweden were going to win?
I was pretty much on Sweden's nuts, I think, the whole time.
No, I went for Finland just I thought Cookie and Himsy would be too strong.
Yeah.
I was like, my boy Zeb. I backed my boy Zeb, and he didn't let me down.
I think Walter's playing for Sweden made a big difference.
Oh yeah, I think that's what I said. I said if Walters plays, then Sweden win, and if he doesn't, then they don't.
Yeah, so Walters magically turned up and Sweden actually won. It was a really, really close game. Well worth going and watching.
I'm not sure how
I,
true it is, but apparently Walters had to practically beg Zebasai to let him play. Zebasai apparently really wanted to stick with the people that were kind of like keen, but eventually his desire to win, I think, overcame his desire to be buddy-buddy with his Scandi friends.
Yeah, now I've heard similar things.
I heard the same thing. I heard it from Bevan being a bit disappointed that Zebasai told him that he would be playing for sure, right? And then, yeah, Walters just turns up and they cut him.
The Zebasai man manager of the
Wow.
So yeah, but that's a brilliant result from Sweden's point of view, and you know they should. No, let's talk about the next result before we do any predictions for the next one. So, France, USA, Xavi. What was the score that happened tonight, didn't it?
It went 3-1 to France on Snakewater, and then 4-2 to USA on Gullywash. Was it the other way round?
No, you got it, man. You got it.
You got it? Okay, yeah. And then it was...
No, wait. I don't know.
USA won the first map. USA will won the map up.
France won Gully. That's all I know.
Oh, okay, there we go. It was the other way around then, yeah. And then it went to Badlands, where USA went 4-0 up, cruise control.
Did you see what the frags were at that point, by the way? Because I tabbed to see what it was, right? And Ruin was on like 29 frags,
Ruin
and the next person, or whoever USA
Enigma.
was, Enigma. There you go. I assumed it was Ruin. It was on 29 frags, and then the next person in the game was on like 17. Like he was just demolishing it. But yeah, so that was 4-0, was it, or something at that point?
4-0. Then France storm it back. I think mainly Captain Hack's doing that. Come back to 4-0. I think Captain Hack stormed up to 40 frags in this time, and then it went down to a golden cap, where the mid of the golden cap somehow ended up basically a 3v3. Clockwork was trying to bat K3. K3 was holding the Uber versus the bat. Then a soldier jumps in, shoots a rocket that K3 doesn't see, and then K3 drops Uber to that rocket. And then USA go on to win the round.
Oh, dear. So you're saying that if Nox had been playing instead of K3, would have France won?
Can I just bring this up? In our, I think I'm fairly sure, shoot me if I'm wrong, but I'm fairly sure in the TF2 playoffs, K3 also dropped an Uber that resulted to them losing a golden cap. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was Zebasai bombing on Granary last 2 rockets, and he dropped.
Oh, yeah.
Also, I'm fairly sure I would remember if it was
that wasn't Gross, that was in Yard. It was in Yard. I do remember him dropping
I'm also fairly sure, like, most of the time, K3 is, like, one of the easiest medics to pop. Like, if you know what I mean, like, he's really trigger happy with his Uber. He normally pops after, like, a small amount of damage. But then these 2, like, crucial drops that would have, like, basically changed the mid, because if suddenly the soldier K3 was healing gets an Uber on him, he can just clean everything else up before USA get Uber. Then it doesn't guarantee a win, but then USA are back on their second, back defending at a massive disadvantage.
Yeah. Well, it's unfortunate, really, from France's point of view, but congratulations to USA, you know, holding on eventually after that golden cap, and get to play against Sweden in the semi-finals. So the top 4 teams, guys, the teams that are going to be playing 2 more games, I assume, because I think there's a third-place game as well, are England, Germany, Sweden,
Denmark,
and the USA. Oh, yeah, fuck. Why did I say Germany? Why am I looking at that?
Quarterfinal.
Yeah.
The wrong thing.
I am looking at the wrong thing. England, Denmark, Sweden, USA. Those are the 2 games. I'm going to have to go with my prediction pretty simply for England, Denmark to beat England winning that. And I think Sweden will demolish USA, personally. There you go.
I'm with you, Greg.
Are you?
Yeah, I said that Sweden would be like the surprise package of the Nations Cup when it started, and I'm going to stick by that. Plus, it would be fucking horrible if it was USA in the final.
Yeah.
Yeah,
especially since it'll be like after I-46, it would just be really bizarre to have like this USA versus some EU team online in a grand final after we have the fucking teams playing a LAN.
It would be really
it would be so fucking bizarre. Yeah, it would just be really weird. I so really hope Sweden do win. And if Denmark beat England, then fucking fair play to them. But I don't really see it happening. And if it does happen, then okay, cool. But I don't know. I don't really see that. I don't know if they somehow did it. I don't really think like, they could do it again in the final. I think the final might be disappointing. So I really hope England win that, because otherwise it's going to be like a coin flip whether the final's any good or not.
Yeah, I think
even though Denmark have been surprisingly good, they've had quite an easy set of teams to be surprisingly good against, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
like they've never had to play anyone who's really been like a serious contender for first place.
Yeah, and they know it as well because F2's finding all the games for them on IRC, and he's always looking like he always states Div 1 low. I think just this week he started looking for low prem top Div 1. So like they're not getting carried away with themselves. I think they know where they stand because they're still practicing against this standard of teams.
Yeah, well, it's really good of them to get to the top 4, to be honest. So, kind of disappointing that Germany didn't get the opportunity to be there due to some mishap out of the groups. But
Well, if you think about it, wasn't this rather groups like if things went as planned, Israel would at the moment be in that 4th playoff spot. But obviously they messed up their scheduling and had to play with.
Germany
worst
should
of-
still be seeded higher than Israel. Should be still be
guess.
seeded higher than Sweden and Finland, in my opinion.
But then
So-
the final 4 would look a bit more. There wouldn't be
Yeah.
an odd.
If
an odd
Israel were
team
there, yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
you wouldn't-
what
you
what I heard was that the German admin staff, of which my exploits into the admin channel the other day revealed are plentiful. 60% of that channel were fucking German. Apparently, like a collection of the German staff who were behind the Nations Cup seeding, they knew where Germany should go and they knew where they should fit into the brackets, but they thought it was too easy a set of games for Germany and they would be accused of bias. So the solution to this problem was to throw them into basically what would be the final straight away.
so they they screwed themselves with like overcompensating.
So that's what I heard.
That's
So basically, they would be like where Israel were, sort of thing. So they would have
I'm not
played
entirely
like
sure, but yeah, but
they would have played
would've-
like Denmark and then played Portugal and then played like England.
something like that. Yeah.
but then Israel would have been thrown onto England's side, so England was screwed either way. Basically, like England were just boned.
Well, no, Israel were good, but they were always going to be like having to step it up to be on the same level, really.
Anyway, we've talked about the Nations Cup
Wait,
for
there's
a fairly big amount of time.
One
Go
more
for it.
thing. There's one more thing. Payard brought it up in chat. It's basically the fact that Captain Hacks posted on Villa TV that Knox didn't want, like, basically said, "I'm not going to play for France in their quarterfinal against USA." He said he'd rather play with Epsilon.
I'll put it this way: that Epsilon haven't been practicing for the past week. The admin team have extended when the match should have been played for today. It wasn't even, they weren't even allowing it to be today, and they thought they were going to give a default to USA, but they decided not to. Right? So you can't turn around and say Knox didn't want to play because they could have played last week and he would have been able to. So pretty.
Yeah, but Knox has still refused to play.
Well, completely and utterly refused, or just when Epsilon.
Okay, Captain Hacks just told me now the match could have been played last week, but Knox said, "Don't play without me." For Monday.
Wow.
And
That's
then
a dick
Knox,
move.
like,
Oh my God.
You could argue in the defense of Knox that LAN is more important. It's a bigger thing than the Nations Cup. But now knowing that, Knox has sort of like nothing, no defense to fall back on.
So I just want to say the admins almost gave a default to USA because Knox hadn't turned up. So Knox would have been the reason they would have got defaulted against, and then decided not to turn up tonight either. Oh dear. Well, unfortunately, France don't continue through the competition. Can you point fingers at Knox? I think that's a yes, really, don't you? Let's move on then.
More to help his country, yeah.
Let's talk about season 13, or do we want to talk about the admin stuff?
Should we go? I want to go maps first.
You want to go maps first? Okay, let's talk season 13. One thing before we talk about maps is they made a post obviously with all the jazz about the maps coming out and stuff like that. But something that I heard a couple of days before all that came out is that they won't be doing any new unlocks because it's too close to the next season. So nothing's been posted about it, but I doubt there's gonna be unlocks for season 13, and they'll probably do them for season 14. Yeah, they haven't completely decided what they're gonna do, but I've heard that is a stance that some people are taking. Let's talk about the maps. So they were released, what the maps were going to be. Basically, it's the standard 5, Badlands, Gully Wash, Granary, Snakewater, and Gravel Pit, plus Turbine Pro as the final map. We kind of went into it last week. I have a feeling that none of the admins ever listened to this, so other than Crasp, and Crasp isn't even an admin anymore. So no one really heard what we talked about last week about the maps, but it's all good, to be honest. We kind of discussed Turbine then. Do you want to go into it now?
Well, you say it's all good, but I think the only reason it appears good is because with ETF4 you expect for worse. Like, you sort of going, oh, got a new news post, what's happened now? And they've still, like, it's what's now the 3rd season, I think, without any new maps.
Yeah, 3rd season in a row without a new map.
And when this is like the first time there's been such a genuinely promising map process, like with genuine promise to become an established map, and it's been overlooked in favour of the safer bet of Turbine.
Well, from the admin's point of view, they've always stated that they don't want something that's not been played in Europe before. So they have to do.
What difference does it make if it's played in Europe or America?
I don't know. I disagree with it completely.
I just like how they wait till like a week before they're going to announce the maps, and then a really good map gets suggested, and they're like, "No, there's not enough time because we decided to wait till right now to do anything about it." Like, Process has been out there; it's been played like on and off in Europe like for months, and it's been visible in America for even longer. It seems
Not to
like
mention,
a complete fucking fail.
Yeah, it's gone through an entire ESEA season with like vast majority positive feedback. I don't know what more testing you could ask for, like with genuine top teams playing this map and practicing it like every day.
Yeah, I mean, it never happened for Snakewater. I don't remember anyone playing Snakewater before it was put in. I mean, like, they tested it in the same way that Process was tested, but no one actually played it with their teams or anything like that. As far as, like, top players testing maps go, Process has probably had the best testing. Like, it actually got put into Pickup 2 before it was put into any map pool. I've not seen that happen for fucking ages. And probably won't happen again, to be fair.
Yeah, one of the things while we're talking about this is that Turbine's been added. We've all played it before. We don't play it anymore. We don't play it in any PCWs. And outside of Turbine Week, we're not going to see it in any PCWs. Or Turbine 2 weeks. Meanwhile, Process is a possible CP5 map that we would actually play quite a lot outside of the week, you know, actual practice. I'd definitely prefer to see Process in. And we all had this argument last week. We talked about each of the maps, and Process was definitely the general consensus from our point of view as a better map to be put in. But I don't know whether the admins can even change their decision. I no idea.
Well, they can definitely change their decision if they really want to. It's just whether the like desire.
I'm fairly sure that
there.
would involve admitting they were wrong about something.
It's an impossibility then. Never mind.
Yeah. The biggest joke about it is just that they say there's not enough time or it's not been thoroughly tested enough, but then they don't do anything. Like, I don't know, like, I honestly can't tell if they're just completely oblivious to what goes on in like the TF2 world out of their little closed circle, or if they just don't care and disagree, so make up these stupid excuses. It just seems ridiculous.
Yeah, so that's the map pool, guys. I think the main thing with this is the map pool that should have been in last season. Then we would have gone, aha, Turbine's not that great, and now we would actually be playing Process instead of going for a season of Obscure for no fucking reason whatsoever, and now going, oh, let's play Turbine because last season the Prem guys all whined because we had put Obscure in and all said, oh, let's play Turbine. So now, a season later, they're all going to still want to play Turbine again, aren't they? So let's make sure we put Turbine in for them. And there we go. That's how we're going to do it. We're going to go by the previous season's Prem decision. There we go. Perfect. Oh, well. Yeah, well, let's move on to the next bit of news, which is Crasp actually resigning from ETF2L due to his commitment to the uni, I think it is. I'm not 100% with that. Crasp is in here, so hopefully he'll update me. So, yeah, many reasons, Crasp said, but taking too much of his time. So I have to say many thanks to Crasp being an admin. He's been absolutely brilliant. Like, from my point of view, before I joined the admin team, he was, you know, really, really helpful. And then when I was in there, he was as well.
Yeah, Kraus was really the only admin I'd like seriously consider talking to if I had an issue with something. Like, I'd kind of wait for him to be available to meet my request rather than talking to some of the others.
Yeah, indeed. And I was the same. So maybe this is why he resigned.
He's
Doing
been
too much for them.
overwhelmed.
I blame you, Zavi. And so they've now promoted somebody to replace him as the head admin alongside Camfo, called EMB. Yeah, so EMB was a trial admin before this and did quite a lot of work on the admin team. Like, is in work, I mean, like accepting, all the all the admin requests and all that jazz, and helping behind the scenes. I don't really know what else he did. He did quite a lot of Highlander stuff, and he's always said he's a Highlander player. He doesn't really give a shit about sixes, and his discussion is always like a really, really like fucking most obscure reasoning behind it, or like so right wing, if you see what I mean by that, like so off the center of what's going on. And like he never listens to what anybody says. Literally, like he was the fucking most annoying person in that admin channel ever. Like if you're trying to have a discussion about what's going on, he literally would say nothing whatsoever. He wouldn't say nothing. He would just he would say something, right? And then I'd type a response and be like, "This is why," and then he would ignore what I've said, type something else, and then go, "Oh, blah 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 blah. Why haven't you responded? Why haven't you replied to this?" And I'd be like, well, "Look up. I've just said exactly that." And then he'll start talking about something completely different. Won't ever read what I've said whatsoever. And I was just like, yeah. The moment he got promoted, I quit the admin team because he's a fucking retard. So awesome, very helpful
Whoa.
inside the admin team.
Holy. Holy.
So, yeah. Holy, yeah.
I don't really
awesome.
know EMB. I'm not gonna I won't pretend to know EMB, but whenever I've seen him talking, he just, I don't know. It sounds a bit rich coming from me, but he just seems like a sarcastic cunt, basically. Which is great, but not really what you want as a head admin of the fucking league. I mean, if you want to bring on like another sarcastic twat to Pirate Radio, EMB might be the perfect candidate, but to run the entire basically run the fucking community, I don't know.
Like,
Plus, he's a Highlander player, and like I don't know, unless TF2 really was in favor of devoting all their time to Highlander, I don't really see what. I mean, I don't really know what a head admin does. Because I mean, I read that he was brought in, like he was favored for the position because he's hardworking. I mean, I don't really see how much hard work they can really be to do for like a head admin. Like as a regular admin, he might be fantastic if he's hardworking. But like, I mean, I don't really know exactly what the job requires. But I think it probably is something more than being hardworking.
I'd imagine the
head admin does a lot more work.
decision-making.
Yeah, there's a lot of extra stuff that goes into it on top of the admin stuff, and like he did do a lot of the admin stuff, I have to say. And as for the extra work that goes on, it's the sort of thing where if there's a dispute going on, you talk to Campbell, Crasp, and that's kind of what it was, mediating things. And
That's what I mean, because that's kind of the impression I got that really distinguished the head admin from the regular admins. I mean, sure, like Crasp, Jesus Christ, calm your balls. Of course, there's more work involved, but like simply being hardworking cannot be the only determining factor for placing someone like at the fucking head of an entire establishment. Like they seems like I don't know. It just seems like it requires some like more delicate sense of like man management, bringing Zebasai maybe. And all that kind of thing. It just seems to completely lack like just the ability to. I don't even know, man. He just seems like a cunt. I don't know what else to say.
Every time I see him post, he seems to have really misinformed opinions and seems to be unwilling to reconsider those opinions. Like take other evidence, no matter how obvious it is, on board to adapt his opinion. He just seems to like have his guns and stick to it, regardless of anything.
Yeah, I think that's probably my biggest problem. Like I say, I don't really know too much, but like what the impression I get is that he has his views and he doesn't really budge on his views. But the views he has, like, they're I don't know. I guess because I'm a Prem player, like they just seem like the kind of views that's going to completely go against what's good for like the top end of the scene. And I've always been in favor that the top end of the scene is kind of what's better for the game as a whole.
Yeah, I completely agree. And him, that's why I left the admin team when he got put to head admin, because it's just not worth trying to have the conversations with him. But we've talked about it enough now. I don't, what else can we do? He's been promoted, and I don't. While it's a community league, it's Camfo's the head admin at the moment, and now so's EMB. So it's fair enough. I've had to talk to some of the other admins about this as well, and they couldn't understand any of the reasons why either, and thought it was really, really weird having EMB get promoted.
Yeah.
But it might turn out completely differently to what we were expecting, and him be brilliant for the 6v6 league and all that jazz inside ETF2L. I guess we'll have to wait and see a little bit before we can tell. Like,
my only impression of him as an admin was on those wonderful the idea box forums. It was on the process thread. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he basically said he opposes process because it hasn't been played officially anywhere in Europe. Blah 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 blah. Basically a bunch of shit. Like he was, I don't know. I kind of get the impression it had something to do with the process decision because he was completely against process. Yes, some top teams might have scrimmed it or played it in Pug 2, but that hardly justifies imposing a completely new map onto the league. So basically, he's saying like it needed like one-day cups or whatever. But like to me, one-day cups don't seem. Oh, Grasp, stop crying. Just stop. Basically, like to me, it seems like one-day cups. They're like in general, they're like load of teams playing a map for one day and then forgetting about it, giving some like random feedback about it, and then that's it. So I don't really see what that had to do with it. And I'm not saying EMB had the fucking decision on that, but it's just that kind of like attitude that like worries me. Like I say, I don't really know what admins do, but just the fact that that's the guy with it, basically, regardless of whether he made the decision or not, future decisions of a similar context, he's going to be the guy with like the final say on it. And that to me just seems kind of scary, regardless of his merits elsewhere.
Put it this way, I reckon he's going to make worse decisions than the Foundry third map playoff decision that we had a couple of seasons ago. So hats off there, but yeah, hats off to Cross. Exactly, that was Cross one. So fingers crossed he can step up and outdo you there, Cross, and you'll lose your like title of the most retarded rule ever. Let's move on anyway. We've talked about pretty much enough about ETSL in Season 13, I feel, really now. And let's us move on to the I-46 discussions. Should we start with the Boneyard movie competition before the actual I-46 team news?
Yeah.
I think it's a good place to start. So the Boneyard movie competition finished yesterday night. Basically, for those of you that haven't kept up to date with it, it's a competition set up by Bones, the movie maker and TF2 player, where people go out and make TF2 movies with a certain intro, and they get prizes if they have the best, edit and frags and all that jazz, and get played before the I-46 final, which is happening next weekend. So it's kind of I-46 related. So obviously we've had a load of movie entries, and I feel we should probably do our top threes. Do you want to do top three? Does that sound good to you guys? Yes? No? Do you even remember we watched them last night? Are you still there?
I vaguely remember that. Yeah, on my friggin' shit computer where I couldn't even watch the videos full screen because my computer would lag too much from the full screen video in 360p. But I remember. I've just got an update about this. I've got an update that's probably worth talking about before we move on really quickly. I've just got a PM from Ips saying that you can tell them that I have just left the admin team because of EMB, or I'm really close to. So there you go. Another person that's close to leaving the admin team. You either left or you're nearly leaving. You can't be. You can't be both.
It was 5 minutes ago, so by now he's probably left. Is that about right?
All right. Sick.
Apparently Ips didn't say that one. I've got the Steam chat up here. Ips, why are you lying?
Well, now we're actually causing drama.
Maybe I got a complete wrong end of this. Let's move on to let's keep going with the I-46 thing. So let's talk about, I would say, my top three movies. They're between Cubes, NAF, is it NAF? Is that the other guy's name? And Grid. Those are my top three in the order. As for I-46, because it's going to be before the I-46 final, hype-wise, I think Cubes will be much, so much better hype-wise before the final. And Grids though was absolutely brilliantly edited. I really loved Grids. Like I was so close between those two for me. And then NASA's my third. Like, if you haven't watched them, go watch those three. Personally, I'd say they're absolutely brilliant. Like, but I think just because it's the I-46 thing, Cubes is going to be the one that is going to win it. Personally, Xavi, what do you think?
I think Grids was like sick, but like you said, in terms of hype before the final, with like the casters involved, the players involved, it's like a no contest for Cube to be the movie to be played right before the I-46 final. But I also feel like Grid's movie is so good overall in terms of like total frag movies, if that makes sense. Like all the frag videos they'd normally play before matches, like Grid should be played before Cubes anyway, just because it's so far above like what's been produced so far.
Yeah, Cadis, you there?
Yeah, man, I'm here.
What do you think? What's your favourite movie-wise?
I don't know. I think Cubes is the best. Like I know that Grids is probably technically the best, but like you judge a movie on how much you enjoyed watching it. And sure, when I watched Grids, I was like, wow, that's cool. But like, just if I was gonna sit back like and watch something for my personal enjoyment and not to like, like be impressed that I'd watch Cubes like every time. Like I've probably watched Cubes movie about 5 times. I watched Grids like 1.5. Because I mean, once you've seen it, you've seen it. There's nothing really more to it than, it's exciting in its own way, but it's more like technically impressive than just enjoyable to watch, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. Actually, like the thing,
Like, I'm not
it's
saying
really
it's
long as well with loads of good frags. That's what's
yeah.
it's just absolutely brilliant. You can keep watching those frags over and over again because they're just so good.
Yeah, I
Like,
feel like I might have misrepresented my view there a moment ago. I'm not saying Grids isn't enjoyable to watch. It's just that I think Cubes is substantially more enjoyable to watch.
yeah,
I think what the main argument seems to come down to is the winner is supposed to be the best edit, if that makes sense, and therefore I think lots of people are saying on a more technical side. I can't really say because I'm not qualified to say, but I see a lot of opinions saying on like a technical front, Grids is a lot more accomplished. Cube's just done all the good things really well with a load of prem frags.
yeah. But part of a movie is going and getting the frags as well. Surely, I don't see how the fact that Grids has slightly lower level frags that should make a difference.
But the thing is,
in a
like,
frag movie.
if Bone wants to promote video editing and like the competition was an editing movie, not a overall frag movie, I think the fact that one of the prizes for coming first was to be played before the I-46 final has kind of tainted what the qualifications for a winner should be.
Well, it's going to be like decided based on judges anyway, so it doesn't really matter what like we think as far as that goes. I mean, I'm fairly sure they'll both get played anyway. So, I mean, I can't actually remember what the video said because the video I think gives more details. I read the post, like the announcement post. It doesn't actually say like the judging criteria. And I can't actually remember what the video said. But if it is like straight up an editing competition, then it's pretty clear who will win. There's not even a question if it actually is judged like that.
Well, there's going to be a set of judges, and the judges are a combination of video editors and then people like Admirable and Dunk, who are more just like high-profile viewers, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's going to be close between the two of them personally. Cubes is still really, really well edited and polished, but it's just the fact that Grid's done something with a TF2 frag movie that I feel hasn't been done before in TF2. Well, it might have been done before in other games. It's always so hard to bring across the style, the editing that COD 4 movies do or CSS movies do, just because TF2 is such a different game that it's not all about, it's, the kills isn't just one shot. There's generally a lot more to it all than that. And Grids brought across these editing styles I never thought I'd actually see in TF2 because it's just so hard to replicate. And that's what I really love about his movie. It's just so original to TF2, right? And I just thought it was absolutely brilliant in that fact. But then, like, he could have still have spent, a day asking people for demos.
Don't forget also. Well, Cube has a lot more contacts in like.
Yeah,
part of this is a you know who you know kind of thing. Like,
yeah.
Unless you want to use Cowho's triple air shot, I've seen fucking 80 times in every video. Then you have to go out and kind of find your own frags individually, and
Yeah.
it is kind of like a favourites game. Like Cube's obviously gone to all these players, asked for their demos, and probably also requested basically that it's exclusive to him. So,
Yeah.
like, fair
What
play
do you
to
think?
him.
What do you think about the jump movie then? Because like I thought that was pretty good, but doesn't that come into the same kind of thing? Like, I mean, who fucking has access to like to jump like all these jumpers and shit to make that kind of movie?
I'd also say playing a jump movie right before final isn't going to get people hype. So maybe people want to go,
Well, no,
"Oh,
but
this is
that's not.
pretty."
But yeah, but that's about like that's something completely different to who should win though.
Oh.
Oh, sorry.
But you can't help. You can't help. But like when that's one of the prizes, I don't know. It feels like you have to take that into consideration.
I don't think so because I think they're gonna play. They'll play more than one movie before the final anyway.
Hmm.
I don't think it really matters. Like, I mean, I think Cube's movie is the best. Like, just in terms of watching it. But if they are judging it on editing, then I think all this other shit goes out the window.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Well,
I mean, because it's that,
we'll have
it's that community prize as well. So imagine what they were trying to do was like have the winner for the best edit, and then the community award will go to obviously the movie that was the most fun to watch because obviously that's like a vote, I assume. So like if I
Yeah,
think
that'll be a public
I reckon
vote, I
Cube will
believe.
win the community prize and Grid will win the overall thing.
Yeah, I suppose that would be the fairer way. And then I suppose you just split in hairs then in which order they're played before the final. Which we're saying this will happen, it's not confirmed, but it's kind of presumption.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll have enough frag movies so that we won't have to see Random Damage and Dr. Justice's frag movies before the I-46 final, at least.
Oh,
I want to watch Dr. Justice's frag movie again. Those pipes.
I think the best thing about this movie competition is I might never have to see those fucking movies again because I mean they were brilliant like 4 years ago, but now it's just kind of like
It's almost like embarrassing. Like, you know, if you see like people who don't play TF2 watching these videos, you sort of want to go. It's not really likeness anymore. Likeness is it's more
Like
of a documentary, a historical documentary.
like they set the bar, but then since then that has been the bar, and everyone's kind of hit it dead on. Like for a movie to be considered good, it basically has to be on that same level. Like they don't receive the same acclaim because obviously they aren't special like those were back in the day, and people always remember like them being special. But yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to I-46. We've wasted quite a lot of time tonight.
Tons of
Talking about
time.
other stuff. Yeah.
Everything we said is really important.
let's talk about each team individually, shall we?
You want to do the team news first?
Well, we can do the team news as we talk about each team, can't we?
Okay.
Sound like a good plan? 'Cause
Yeah,
we're going to
sure.
talk about those two teams anyway. So,
Horrible plan.
how do we want to do this? Should we talk about the two American? No, let's talk about Europeans first. Let's do Americans last. So Epsilon. Let's just talk about them very quickly. So they've been kind of on hiatus from playing for ages. Like Nox being on holiday, as we've just found out, has kind of delayed them. But like,
The
since
question is, where did he
Shinzaz-
go on holiday?
I have no idea. Why do we care?
I like to
Right.
think he went to some sort of like TF2 training house in Finland or something to get better at the game.
Practice for I-46. Got to win that.
Yeah, some sort of like gaming holiday.
Probably went to Slick's house, and Slick probably just stood over him with a whip, making him practice on MG for the whole week.
It wouldn't hurt his game.
Right, so yeah, basically Shintaz hasn't played with them other than playing the show match they did when Numlock played as Demoman versus LG.
Okay.
Yeah, so I know they haven't played very much at all. I think they played tonight for the first time, so they're going to be a little bit rusty. But Epsilon being Epsilon, generally they don't need practice to be good. So I think they'll just come into LAN and just take the first few games to get used to everything, and then just pretty much turn it on and wreck things. Is what I kind of predict them to do at this event. What do you guys think? Should we go through the lineup actually? Before, as I've talked so much about it already.
I definitely
Epsilon's
don't know
team,
the lineup. We should do that.
Yeah, but some
Wait, who
people
is
here-
an Epsilon? Is it Dunk? Dunk,
No,
right?
no, that's wrong, Zavi. Come
Oh,
on.
why don't
Get
you
it
inform us
time.
all, Greg?
So the medic is F2, Pocket Soldier Nox, Roaming Soldier
Ah,
Gear, Demo Man is Extremer, and the two scouts are Stefan and Shintaz. So what do you guys think? Go for it.
I
What do you
think
Epsilon?
Epsilon style, kind of the way they play and the way they revolve around like their main callers, just keep them so informed. Like it kind of all they're missing is the like sharpness to their DM, but they already have most of it. Like the way they play negates like whether they played together a lot or whether they've practiced MGE like an hour before the game or anything like that. Like Epsilon will just be Epsilon and will crush most opposition pretty easily. Like they're the most consistent team I think Europe's had in quite a while.
Yeah. Cadis, what do you think?
As I say, when you've been around like as long as Epsilon have, like the teamwork doesn't really go when you take a break. I mean, you can look at other teams and they take a little break, like a month break or something, and they come back and they're a mess and they need time to get it back together. When you've been around for like, I don't even know how long Epsilon's been around, but it's quite a fucking while now. So coming back from a break, it doesn't really affect their teamwork anymore. And I mean, the DM, you might think maybe something's wrong with it, but if you take into account they're going to have like 2 full days like of nothing but TF2 before they even have to break a sweat in the competition. Like, I mean, Friday, I mean, they're going to be doing like 6 hours of groups. I mean, granted, they won't have to actually play for 6 hours because their games will get cut short because of wind difference, but still, they're going to be like knocking about, waiting 20 minutes for the Div 6 teams to get onto the server and things like that, just randomly running around and warm up. And then Saturday, they'll have some like, at least like double map games, probably. I don't know if there's best 3s on Saturdays, but either way, they're going to have a lot of playing, so they're going to get like their game on, basically. I don't think they're going to have any fucking trouble, man.
Yeah. Should we talk about who from Epsilon needs to step it up for the event for them to win it?
Gear.
Gear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gabby?
Yeah, I'm going to kind of side with that now. Like, it's kind of like, it goes for granted that Stefan and Shintaz will bring it. Like, they've proven at lands before that they can bring their A game. It's just how Gear performs to give them that extra edge.
I would agree. I would also say if Shintaz doesn't play to what we expect him to, then he kind of has to do that in my books. Like, if you saw throughout the season, like Waters wasn't performing that well during the season, then they got to the ECF2 final, they smashed it and they won. So if they have 2 scouts on fire, then probably still counteract how well Gear plays anyway. But yeah, definitely Gear needs to step it up. Should we talk about another team then? Who should we talk about next? Let's talk about Infuse now. So the lineup is, of course, Medic is Dunk, Demoman's
That's who he plays
Numlocked,
for.
Pocket Soldier is Hat, Roaming Soldier is Darn, and the 2 scouts are Bibbin and Cookie. Kind of, an absolute dream team scout combo there. I reckon they haven't really been playing that well recently from what I've heard and seen myself. Like, their PCWs haven't been 100% brilliant. But like with Infuse, the PCWs normally before LAN aren't great anyway. It's just when they get to LAN, they get into it, sit down and actually play. I think they'll always turn up at LAN personally, and they'll come and wreck it as well. I think a lot of teams are kind of overlooking or a lot of people are overlooking what they can do personally, and it includes Infuse themselves, because I know Numlocked at the moment doesn't feel very confident in what they're doing. But I think they'll turn up and absolutely destroy it personally. What do you guys think?
I think, in terms of players who need to step up, I think the obvious candidate is Darn, who just kind of looks awful. Like, his DM's, like, okay, but then, like, loads of his decision-making, he just gets caught out all the time. Like, he's basically always a free pick if you're on the other team.
He really needs to watch
aware.
those size demos.
And I just feel like, as well, just between the entire team, it feels like they're playing, like, a really outdated style. Like, I don't know who's calling it. I think, is it Darn calling the pushes more now? And
Yeah,
I think Darn's
calls,
calls are really out of date. And against like LG mix-up, they're just going to get crushed by basically the other members of the top 5. And if anyone's going to get upset by like a quarantine or a deserter or something, it'll be them, to be honest.
Okay, so would you have them go back to the Numlock calling, or what would you do? Would you go back to the style that they did, before Darn joined?
Hat should call, to be honest.
Hat should call.
Probably, he doesn't really want to. But I just feel like both Darn and Numlock don't really call a game that can keep up with the sort of comms like LG, Mix-Up, Epsilon have. I think they're really predictable with how they come at you.
I still think they have some really awesome pushes that work brilliantly, but they are very predictable, but they still work even if they are predictable. But it's I personally I think they'll turn up to LAN, as I said before. I don't think I'll change even after what you said. Cadis, what do you think?
I don't fucking know.
Do you reckon they'll be able to get to the final, or is that out of the question?
No, I don't think they'll get in the final. I think they'll probably come third, to be honest. But that's so like, I think that's where they should probably come. All things considered, probably they should come third. But I don't know. They're one of like I think there's 3 teams that fall into this category of where it's simply going to be like an on the day thing because they're really fucking inconsistent even online. Um, I don't think they're as good as they used to be with Mike and like. Well, the scout didn't really fucking matter whichever scout it was. That's not really the difference. I think the difference between Mike and Dan is just fucking exponential though. Like Dan
He
is like I don't know. You always know what Dan's gonna do. He's been doing the same shit for 4 years, and you just always know like when he's gonna jump. It's like 3, 2, 1. Oh, there's Dan. Whereas Mike would just fucking like show up like any fucking time, anywhere, and just out of nowhere just kill your fucking medic and pocket or whoever. And it was just like that was just such a fucking burden to play against when that kind of shit would happen all the fucking time. Like it was just unplayable because you never knew when it was coming. It was just so fucking random. But it was just in a way that worked. Whereas with Dan, you don't have that. And I don't know. I get the impression Dan he just seems to play the same way he played when like the game, like the overall skill of the game was so much lower when like Dignitas were like the hot shit DMers and they like had all the skills like so much more than the other teams around. But I'm tired, Gubbins. I'm really tired. Um, but I don't know. It just seems like they're playing in a way where they've got the best individual skill. I mean, they probably have some of the best individual skill, but it's so balanced nowadays. I mean, like especially against like Epsilon, even against TCM, I think the individual skill. I don't think there's that much of a difference. Like Cookie is really the only standout player on that roster in terms of individual skill. I mean, Numlocked is obviously really fucking good as well, but I mean, there's like, I mean,
All
in
the demos
Europe,
are.
demos are all just really fucking good. Like, you don't stand out being a good demo in Europe because pretty much every team has a really, really fucking good demo, so it's not a difference maker. Like, Dan used to play with Rib and Bibbin in his prime, and they were just a standout, like, top of their game, tons better than anyone else. And like they just played off that, and Dan still plays in the way where he can play off that. But like the other teams, they're ready for it and they can deal with it. So Dan can't be effective in any way, if you know what I mean.
yeah.
But I feel like if he was just a little bit better, and the same with Bibbin, I feel like whenever I see Bibbin like in a duel with someone, he always gets them weak, and they're always down to like 10 HP, but he never wins. Like obviously sometimes he wins, but he never seems to like come out on top most of the time like he used to. But I just feel like if they were just good on the day, like if their aim was just like bang on the day, then they could be really fucking good because a lot of the time it doesn't come down to a wide margin, but they always seem to fall on the same side of the margin, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do. All right, that's fair enough. So
as
you
well,
think? Sorry,
I think as
keep
well,
going.
actually, I was going to say a Hat's going to be a lot better on LAN just because he's kind of forced to play and forced to try a bit harder. So I think his DM will just go up that level. That could help carry like Dan slack.
Yeah, that's something else I didn't actually mention. Hat is really fucking good. Like when I was talking about standout players, like Hat is a standout player, but from playing against them, he hasn't stood out whatsoever. Like Hat's the kind of
But that's
player that
online.
I don't even think it is online. I think it's just in the team. I don't know. I mean, he does the job, but he's doing a job. He's not really in a position where he's allowed to shine, or at least that's how
Would
it
you-
feels playing against them.
Would you say Numlock gets too many heals to allow Hat
Well,
to make an impact?
well, I wouldn't say he gets too many heals because Numlock deserves a shitload of heals because he's really fucking good, but it just seems to incapacitate Hat to an extent. I mean, Hat's still really fucking good, and he's just really good, but there just doesn't seem to be that much that he can do a lot of the time, especially when Dan is got so goddamn ineffective. Like he has no room because like Dan is completely ineffective, so Numlock can't like create the space, and so therefore Hat is just like stuck in the middle somewhere. Like, oh shit, I'm gonna defend this like fucking terrible medic that I have to defend.
So if you were let's say you're in Numlock's shoes now, would you get Hat to call because that would make him more interested in the game, enable him to play a little bit more of his
Well,
own style, and
I don't
then
know, I think it's
play
way too late
better?
for that. If it was
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, I would have definitely got Hat to call if Hat was willing because Numlock called in a way that worked for Infused, but I don't really think he's a very good caller. Like his temperament is terrible. He's too wordy. Like he clutters the comms, and a lot of his calls are like panic calls. Like he's got like the adrenaline rush in, and he thinks, yeah, fuck yeah, we can go for this, or we're gonna do it, and then they don't do it because it's a horrible call. I think Hat really has like the far superior like not
Cool
necessarily his
head.
intelligence. He's
Much
equally
calmer.
yeah, he's equally intelligent, but he just creates a much better atmosphere, and he stays collected throughout the game. Like whereas Numlock kind of gets really into it and kind of not loses his head, but he just gets overexcited, if you know what I mean, and goes for stupid shit. Like I'll never forget like the Epsilon Infused encounters where like Infused are up by 2 rounds, and then just this typical Numlock call comes in and they make a stupid push, and then like the game just slips out of their hands.
They collapse around it, yeah. Like,
Yeah, and it's-
one call one bad call snowballs into more bad calls, into more panicked calls, and it just gets out of
Yeah.
hand.
I don't really know what kind of calls Dan's making, but I see them do such random fucking shit, like, and it just falls on it, just completely falls on its ass. Like, I don't know if he's maybe. I mean,
I'm
Dan's been
pretty
hammered at land, so he's not going to relax on that. So I just don't know.
I'm pretty sure Dan just kind of just calls push whenever they have 6 players and buffs, like regardless of most things. There's no real
That's what it feels like.
creativity. Yeah.
Should we talk about the fact that Darn's going to be drunk for the whole weekend as well? Is
Well,
he
well,
better
couldn't-
drunk
couldn't
or
get
is
any
he?
worse, could he?
No, that's true. Okay, so that's infused then. Let's talk about TCM. So they haven't really changed very much recently, but you guys took a little bit of a break, didn't you? At some point,
Yes.
I don't remember very much.
It was
You
a quite
took
an
a break.
extended break after the season ended.
Yeah. So and then you ended up playing against the mix-up guys and got pretty dominated, I would say. But
Yeah.
obviously with the ping disadvantages and stuff all over the place and ping
Well, no,
randomness.
the pings were in our favour, man. I don't really give a shit about that game. It was simply we were literally fresh out of a break. I mean, we didn't play after that either. We didn't play for weeks, then we played that. We didn't play for weeks after. We just weren't like no one was paying attention to TF2 at the time. Like I don't know. I just don't care about the result really. You know.
All right, so let's go through your lineup anyway. So Cadis on Demoman, Bites Medic, Pocket is Hox, Roma Zebasai, and the 2 scouts are Himsy and Rebelli. So they've been getting pretty decent results, I'd say, online. Have you guys PCW's Epsilon yet or not?
We were supposed to today, but I won't go into details. But basically, Bite couldn't play. So we decided not to play. Sadly, no one bothered telling Epsilon, and I had like 3 of their players messaging me at 20. And I apologized most profusely. I kind of took it for granted that this person who cancelled the day would also cancel the games, but Bite had more important things to deal with, I suppose, and it all just got overlooked.
Okay, so but as it stands, you've been getting decent results against the other teams. So going into LAN, you're going to be looking pretty good. But obviously, we need to talk about your poor wrist at the moment. So playing through that, how has it been, Cadis? So in fact, for those of you that don't know, he's got RSI on his hand basically, and it's
crippled.
flared again. Yeah, so it's painful to move his wrist.
River.
Alright, so if it was like last season and this happened, I'd be terrified because I really felt at times like it was all individual plays that were winning us games, and a lot of the time I was kind of pitching in more than my fair share of those individual plays. But in the build up to LAN, we played really like not different, but we just kind of clicked together as a team. I think it really helps that Himsy and Rebelli have had their shit together. And so in the last week where I've had to play with this injury, I've just taken like a really kind of chilled out like approach to the game. Like I'm not jumping on people. I'm not trying to be like a DM hero or whatever like I sometimes do. I'm just kind of supporting other players. And because the other players have just stepped it up so much, it seems to still work quite nicely. Like, I mean, we are kind of like a different outfit now in a way because we do things quite differently. But it seems to have been working quite well. Like, I don't know, with Infused, when we first started playing, like first couple of days, they shit on us. But ever since then, I'd say we've got the better end of things. I mean, there's been a couple of like slip-ups, but mostly, like, I'd say we've been superior in the build up to LAN. But obviously, it's just PCWs. We're both just trying different things. But I mean, like, all things considered, I couldn't really feel any more positive, I suppose.
Are you
Okay.
going to be like at LAN? Are you going to be back to going for those jumps, then going for those aggressive like playmaker things again more? Like, are you going to push your wrist?
Probably a little
Like-
bit, you know, like, I mean, it's because, like, it's just been PCW, so I've just been completely like, yeah, let's just play games. But at LAN, you like, well, in any official, but especially at LAN, you're going to get into it, and you're just going to, like, you know, your instincts are going to take over, and, I mean, your fucking nerd adrenaline's going to kick in, so you won't even feel the pain, man, you won't even feel it.
Do you think that will give like TCM an edge then? Do you think you'll get an edge because they are almost like this last week or so they're going to get used to playing with you just in a more supportive role, and then we're going to have like playmaker Cadus back for LAN?
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I might be
An extra
completely
dynamic.
I might be completely incapable of even doing it because I haven't tried to aim. I mean, I've barely been trying to aim when we play. I'm just kind of lazily like moving my mouse to an angle, spamming stickies at that angle till I run out, that kind of shit. I could be completely terrible when it comes to LAN, but I'll just keep doing the same thing anyway because I have no confidence. But I don't know, we'll see. But I'm not too worried really. I mean, I never thought we'd be favourites, and I think we fall into that same cluster of teams as Infuse, and also just while I'm saying LG and the other team. I think these 3 teams, us, Infuse and LG, all kind of fall into a category where no one can really predict where we're going to end up. I think it's really going to come down to how everyone plays on the day because it's just like a really close pack. I think all those 3 teams are capable of beating anyone in the top 5, but they're also capable of like, having no guarantees of being up there either.
Yeah, definitely. Let's. Who do you reckon needs to step up for TCM? Zavi, I'll ask you first. Who do you reckon? You there?
Oh yeah. I was just thinking. I'm gonna have to say Rebelli really would be the obvious one. Like I feel like Cadus is obviously good. Hox still hits enough of his shots and still sort of like thrives in that pocket role. Zebasai is playing really well. Himsy still does Himsy stuff, and if he's playing like 6-8 hours a day, his aim will be really sharp. It's just really Rebelli, and that can sort of step it up. I think like if you look at all the scouts in the top 5 teams, I think Rebelli is really one of the standout weakest.
Okay.
Fuck off, Savvy. Rebelli's sick.
I'm gonna have to say now that I personally would agree with you. Rebelli needs to step it up, but I also think that Zebasai needs to make sure he continues what he's doing at the moment. Like he's been playing absolutely amazingly for the past, since before the ETF 12 season 12 finals. Before all of those games, he was playing. He started playing really well. But if he like drops off and doesn't have a good LAN, then I kind of feel that's going to be massively detrimental to TCM.
It is Zebasai's first proper LAN as well, which might be
Yeah.
worth mentioning.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. I didn't even
I
think
never
about
forget the day
this sort of
Zebasai
teams.
got a new table and we had official, and he spent the whole fucking 2 hours whining about this fucking table. So I'm kind of nervous. Eventually, he had to take a 25-minute break, and he completely like rebuilt the desk or something ridiculous like that. So maybe he'll bring a hammer and some nails to LAN, and everything will be fine.
I can imagine me trying to play my group game, and all I can hear is this hammering next to me. As Zebasai is trying to like, Zebasai, what are you doing? Man, I just got to be on. I'm gonna get my table up right height.
Zebasai's dead. Cadus looks over him and he's got the hammer back out again, just quickly trying to change it in the middle of the game.
X-Man standing behind him, fucking fuming that he's ripping apart his booth.
Actually, yeah, I'm gonna go with Zebasai then because of that. Because I forgot about. Are there any other LAN virgins in your team, Cadus? I don't think there are any. Are there?
No.
And none in the other teams we talked about either, are there? So yeah. Although Hat's he's been to LANs, but he's never been at this sort of stage of an event.
Profile, big.
Yeah.
But Hat's like a cool guy. I don't think it will affect him in the same way it might possibly affect Zebasai. Like Hat will be a lot. Hat's like collected even when shit's hitting the fan. So.
Yeah. Plus Zebasai with people around him and stuff like that. I don't know how he's going to perform under that sort of pressure. So I think Zebasai then. After that.
And he fucking thrives on it. He's never as good as he is in officials.
You reckon?
Can you hear me? I'm lagging.
Yes.
Hello?
Hello?
Jason?
Sorry, I'm here now. I had some lag. Sorry. What did you say?
That's going brilliantly. What do you think? Who needs to step up from your team, or do you not want to say?
No one
No
needs to step up.
Everyone's awesome, right?
Freelance. Everyone's stepped up already. If we keep going like we are, then no one needs to step up. I mean, before I probably would have agreed with you. The scouts were kind of hit and miss. But it's like, Himsy was hit and miss. Rebelli just kind of probably needed to step it up a little bit. But I mean, Rebelli was fresh back into the game at the start of the season, and he's gradually like got back into it. And I think now everyone's at their peak. Apart from me, everyone's at their peak. So no one needs to step it up. We're gonna just do it.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about the 2 American teams now, because we kind of talked about the top 3 European teams, and let's bring the 2 Americans in. So we've got the top 5, or as I would expect, the top sort of 5 there. So let's talk about Mix Up first. Kind of a slightly enigmatic team, and a bit of an enigma team. Well, I don't even know what the fuck I'm trying to say. Well, let's
Were you
just
trying Were you trying to work into a pun with Enigma?
I was.
Enigma's one of their players?
was.
Is that what you were
Yes.
trying to do? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to have another go, or
No.
are you content with
So the
your
medic-
first effort?
Fuck you! A medic is pure. Their pocket soldiers TLR, their roamers hard blue, their demo man is platinum, and their 2 scouts are Ruin and Enigma. There we go, brilliant. I've been banned from ETF2 apparently, according to your streamer after that one. Right, so yeah, their team is pretty much the old Mihaz Flow that failed at the last ESEA LAN. They've like disbanded, got rid of their shit players. Who were their shit players? Who was that scout they had?
Shrugger was the one that
Shrugger build, yeah. That did about 100 damage in one game or something like that, from what I remember.
Did like 1,600 damage in a 30-minute, 40-minute game.
Yeah.
Well,
That's almost
yeah,
10 kills.
Yeah, but then he was one of those players they all said as well. Like Brad was saying it as well. That Shrugger basically played on the same settings for like all his gaming career. So maybe Zebasai will do a repeat. But anyway, about mix up, I think as long as Brad doesn't drop the ball again, they're the team to beat. Like
Okay.
I think player for player, they're basically the best except for Platinum. But Platinum's not far enough behind for it to make a difference. So as long as Plat doesn't drop the ball, Pure, I mean. As long as Pure is as good as he is online, it'll be fine.
Okay. Cadis, what do you think?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with Commander X. Like, I mean, on paper, they're the best team. But I think at LAN, things get skewed. Better players become worse, and worse players become better. I'm not saying there's any standouts on their team, but I don't know. I think
yeah.
I think it'll probably be closer between them and other teams than people are probably expecting.
Yeah, I'd agree, but there's a lot of egos inside that team. Obviously, they've been playing together now for about a month now, something like that, a month and a half. Something along those lines. So they might have like distilled the egos a little bit, but I can easily see them falling apart after losing 2 rounds or something like that. If they go like 2-0 down in the game, I can see them falling apart.
I think it'll be, you notice in like the ESCA finals, like it felt like Pure dropped Harblu a few times, and then Harblu was pocket, and it's time for flow. But then like Harblu stopped really communicating as much with Pure, like just kind of not got in a mood. I don't want to like commit to that, but you know, there was just a bit of like breakdown in communication several times. And TLR is not as aware as Harblu and not as responsible a pocket as Harblu. Like TLR just basically gets Uber, gets heals and kills stuff. Like he'll hit every shot, but he's not going to help Brad out with all the comms in the same way that Harblu would. So I don't know if, again, especially at a LAN atmosphere, a bigger LAN than the Americans have ever been to, with more people, more cheering and whatever, if Brad will struggle again without Harblu's help on comms.
Okay. Well, I don't remember what I was going to say now. Yeah, I think
Was it Enigma
comms is a
pun?
big issue. No, it wasn't an Enigma pun, but
Okay.
yeah, I don't remember what it was. Doesn't matter. So you reckon Brad just needs to make sure he's aware of what's going on the whole time for them to perform, do you?
Yeah, I think it's not a case of any player needing to step up because they're all basically at the top of their field in terms of class and they're also experienced. It's just a case of making sure they replicate that same performance. And like you said, if they lose a map to someone they shouldn't do, that they don't let each other's egos clash.
Something I want to talk about actually with this team is I've been watching a few of their scrims, right? And if they go a round up and they push forward to the enemy's last, they will camp on your second. They won't push ever.
They exploit the EU rules.
They are exploiting the EU rules far more than EU players are going to. Far more.
Like
So
in EU, there's kind of a gentleman's agreement that the team with mid or the team with the like natural, like the spawn advantage, pushes when everything's equal otherwise. Like it's kind of like an unwritten rule that EU teams do. But they
Until like
kind
the
of,
last
yeah.
6 minutes or something.
yeah,
Mm.
exactly. But they do it. 20 minutes left of the game, they're a round up. They'll happily sit there and let you stalemate it out.
I think that's really
Right.
fucking stupid, to be honest. Like, I'm not judging them. I just think it's bad. It's like bad decision making on their part. Because if, like, for example, if there's 20 minutes left and they're a round up on TCM, and we're like holding last or something, I'm gonna be like, we're not pushing. Let's just wait for the fucking stalemate timer.
Yeah.
Like 1 round, 10 minutes. That's fucking. If the round takes
Loads.
10 minutes, you're fucking laughing. Like that's a joke of a round time. Like if they're gonna give us 10 minutes and a reset and put us back on mid, I'm gonna happily sit there and let them do it. I'm not sure. Like I often see people do this shit, and it's like I'm not gonna push. I'm just simply not gonna do it because there's no point. Like it's like people forget the round timer exists or something.
It's because it's so like, especially in Europe, it's so like it's never really been exploited in the same way. Mix up are willing to exploit it, so it's never been an issue for most teams.
Oh no, it's happened.
Mm. Do you not remember the obscure game like was it Button Bashers versus Epsilon? Ages and ages ago. That was just like 20 minutes of somebody sitting on second and somebody sitting on middle. Right?
Yeah, remember another game. It was Yo Tech versus Crack Clan. Last, not the season that just passed, but the one before. They were one
I
round
remember
up,
this.
18 minutes to go. They were one round up, and they were holding mid, and they were waiting for us to push. And it was like, fuck no, we're not going to push. We'll take the 8 minutes mid reset. I mean, eventually Roy's got his head taken off, and that was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, no,
But
I
there
remember
Oh,
that. I
was
yeah.
was
absolutely
That
no
was
way we
Gully
were
Wash,
going to
wasn't it?
push. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
absolutely no way we were going to push leading up to that. Because if they want to give us 8 minutes and a new mid fight, then anyone's going to take that. So hopefully teams can realize this and not wait for the round resets just to vex and have to see like a 10-minute like fucking nothingness. But
Yeah, so I thought I'd add that just there. So, but I think a lot of people are, pipping these guys to be, number one and definitely make it to the final. I personally think Epsilon will be rated higher in my opinion, but we can
Epsilon are
talk
my
about the top
favourites,
three.
personally.
We can talk about top three or our top eight in a little bit once we've gone through the rest of the teams. So let's talk about LG then, the team that won the previous ESEA LAN. They've won so many. They're a very, very, old team, the American old team. Been together for so long, and now they're back to the lineup that lost last, or they've pretty much gone back to the lineup that lost, not the last ESEA, but the one before that when they lost, with Mackie coming back inside instead of Dave AC. This team, so the lineup is basically on Medic. They've got Shades, Pocket Soldier. They've got Tyrone, Roaming Soldier. They've got Mackie. Demo Man is Banny, and the two scouts Clockwork and Sizer. I think that they're not going to be as good without Dave AC as they, with Mackie instead of Dave AC. I don't think they're going to be anywhere near as good as they were with Dave. He was outstanding at the last LAN. And Mackie is kind of like a really, really weird roamer. He doesn't play roaming soldier like the other roaming soldiers in America. He just like off class the load and stuff like that. So, and also Tyrone's a little bit dodgy at all times. But they do have some really, really solid players. I mean, Banny's the Americans' best demo man easily. They've got Clockwork, who's absolutely sick. I think this team can, always turn up to a LAN and, always be in a chance of taking the LAN down. What do you guys reckon, LG?
I think if you look at their PCW results, they've been like awful. Like they look really, like if you ever watch Tyrone stream, they look really awful, and Tyrone looks abysmal. But as they proved last season, their online form seems to correlate in no way to their LAN form, where they played god awful last ESEA season, and then turn up and were like the best at LAN. So I think the only thing that will hold them back is, like, I think Mackie looks really bad. Like without gunboats, he looks like he's getting nothing done at all. I think he's going to stand out the worst player, and I don't think Tyrone can pick up the slack.
No, like it's hard to say now that, like, if Dave AC had been playing, you'd have easily gone, oh, Tyrone is the person that needs to make sure he performs at the event. But now they've got Mackie back in, it kind of feels like they've now got no soldiers that they can really rely on. They're just gonna have to rely on their scouts and demo man. Obviously, Mackie and Tyrone will still get frags, deal damage at points, but I think it's going to be very, very hard for them to pull it off, get the same amount of damage output as European teams or mix-up. So, Cadus, what do you think?
They're one of those three teams. I think it's just going to come down to the day, because I mean, they're not really that good at the moment. They're not very good at all online. I mean, they've always been a team that performs on LAN, but I think this time it might be a mountain too high for them. But I mean, people have said that before, and then they just proved them wrong anyway. But like the smart money is going to go on them not winning, but you never really fucking know with that team. Like they're in the category of Infuse and TCM. Like if they perform, then cool, but they might not. And I just like also I'm fairly sure Banny has like basically told Mackie to fuck off with all the off classing. I mean, I think he might still pull it out like here and there, but I don't think he's going to be the same kind of sniper spy for half the game like as he used to. I think they thought it was hurting him too much, so they told him to cut it out. So he's just going to be like a mediocre soldier, basically, as far as I can tell.
Okay.
I feel like as well they don't have the Banny advantage anymore, if that makes sense. Like Banny was always the best demo in America by a margin, whereas here, I feel like he's now just as good as the other like top team demo man. So yeah, sure, you can have a better game, but you won't have a better game by so much. Like last LAN, Banny played pretty averagely, but was still the best demo at LAN, pretty comfortably. But he's not going to have that same cushion.
Nat against the European teams.
Yeah, I mean, it may turn out that he is like better than all the EU demos, but if it is, it's not going to be the same like difference maker that it will be against the American teams.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. So let's move on to the rest of the EU teams. Should we talk about quarantine now then? So the lineup for LAN is Kryptonite on Medic, Pocket Soldiers, Mike, Roaming Soldiers, Knutson, Fuo's on Demo, and myself and Beaven are the 2 scouts. Yeah, kind of been getting half decent PCW results against some of the top teams. Sometimes we get rolled. Sometimes we, put up a pretty decent fight. We are beating a few of the lower guys fairly comfortably most points. Some maps we kind of rubbish on and stuff like that, but it's very, very much down to the day as well for us, But we are slightly lower, in my opinion, than the last 5 we've talked about. As for a player that's going to have to step up, I personally feel it would have to be me, probably. Knutson, maybe, I'd say.
Everyone
those 2.
feels like that, Greg. Everyone feels like that.
Thanks. Guys, what do you think about quarantine?
Yeah, I agree.
I like to think.
Step it up.
Fuck you guys. Why so mean to me?
I like to think Greg was waiting for an opening where he would go, "Yeah, I need to step it up," and hoping we would jump in and be like, "No, Greg, no, it's fine." But I
Why
think
so mean to me?
I think whatever Chris Imp said in chat, Boomy needs to step up and go. I think no Boomy, no glory. Like without Boomy, you will still. I reckon you still get 5th. No, 6th even. Sorry, but I think without Boomy, you kind of lost a lot of opportunity to upset one of the top teams.
While we're on this topic, Boomy still hasn't given me a clarified answer as to whether he's going, and I'm meant to be giving a lift. So since I never talked to you anymore, Greg, do you know? Is he definitely not going?
I have fuck all idea. As I know it, he's not going. So there you go.
Massive cunt.
Yeah, like I really have no idea whatsoever what's going on with him.
Fine.
But yeah, if we did have him, we'd be in a much, much better situation than we were, than we are now, in my opinion. Like we could, if we had him playing, I reckon we could have gone and upset every single team if we were playing well. But meanwhile now we're kind of dropped down a little bit, and apparently Cadis is not here. So Zavi, why don't you give me your input on that team?
On quarantine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it really, like, without Boomy, they're missing quite a lot. But on the other hand, it does get, like you said, Mike gets to go pocket now again. So I think that, in a way, gives them some advantages, because Mike's better at pocket and he's at roam. And I think that can, like, obviously there'll be more damage output. And I think you can kind of just fall back on stuff's not quite going right, but at least we can just Uber Mike, and Mike can just rescue everything for them. And I think, as far as it goes across the table, you're not on the same level as the other 5, but I think you're in that kind of funny middle ground where you're not going to upset any of the top 5, but everyone below everyone else isn't really that close to you either, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But something I just want to point out very quickly here as well is that Furo has been on fire recently, and when he's on fire, we play well. So, we play really, really well. So if he kind of turns up to LAN and performs like that, it will definitely help us out. But yeah. I'm getting PM'd on IRC all the time. Let's talk about the other teams, as you mentioned, that we're maybe slightly further ahead of. The next team is, in fact, Punchline, who I don't know how far ahead we might be, but they have taken a break of they've taken a break of about 2 months since the last since ETF2L. Whenever ETF2L finished, they've taken a break. They haven't played at all since as their team, so they're going to be very, very rusty coming into the event. Having said that, though, they are, LAN proven team. They've been to so many French events. They're always going to be there. And I feel that they can turn up and perform these sort of upsets that we saw in the whole of the season. Obviously, there were some mitigated circumstances here and there, but I think they've got a lot of confidence in their team, and being underdogs definitely helps them out. I reckon they might, pull an upset here or there, maybe in the lower bracket, but advance an extra stage or 2. As for a player that needs to step up, it's pretty obviously Flynn needs to step up. Like, you take a look at those top 8 top 7. Those are 7 teams who've been going through now. 7 teams demo men. Like, Flynn is easily the worst of the bunch, or out of those 7. It depends whether you would say Platinum's worse than that, but I don't think so. I think
No, Platinum's. I put Platinum on a level like slightly better than Fuo, but I agree with you. I think with Punchline, for LAN, their strengths are in the right place because it's kind of quite weird now. Their soldiers are by far their best players, like Tech and Captain Hacks. Like I think they could play for pretty much most teams in Prem. And I think on LAN, obviously, you get the soldiers get like a big buff at LAN with like LAN ping, instant rockets, etc. And I think that will really help them. And Tech and Captain Hacks have been playing, I'm pretty sure, like recently, even if it's not with Punchline, like they've been keeping active. So I think they are the players, as long as they can play like they do online on LAN, they can upset a few people.
Okay, cool. Kadis, you back now or not?
I literally just sat down. Catch me up.
All right, we're just talking about Punchline, so just give me what you think of Punchline, and then who you reckon needs to step up.
They'll do okay, but they ain't gonna really contend, I don't think, unless... Yeah, I'll be really surprised if they do contend. Flynn, as always, needs to step it up. Like,
Yep.
everyone else, like, I don't know, from watching the Team France game, I didn't see Flippy, but I wouldn't say Flippy needs to step it up anyway. And all the others... Yeah, all the others seemed good still. Flippy, if he can stay at the same level, he'll be fine. Flynn has always been a weak link and will continue to be, so he needs to step it up.
Cool. That's exactly what we said. So that's pretty much the top 7. There's a couple more that I want to talk about as well. Let's start with talking about Nitros. Let's talk Nitros before we talk about damage, or before we talk Deserto. So let's actually talk about the news. So last week, I think we said that Vikwun would be going instead of Donut, maybe it was the week before, to the LAN event for Nitros. But as of a couple of days ago, that's not happening anymore. I don't know the full story. Zavi, do you know the full story, or shall I go into what I know?
I know what I'm pretty sure is the full story, at least.
You
Basically, what happened is Nitros were funding this team to come, like the org was funding this team to come. And they're basically like, if we're funding you, we want your full online team there. We want the full like first choice online team there. And they were like, okay, because without the Nitros funding, I don't think Evil Moon couldn't go, and I think it would obviously cost everyone else more. So basically, they were like, okay, Donut was able to cancel his plans, which makes me question how important his plans really were if he can just drop them when they actually ask him to go to LAN. But anyway, Donut's now coming instead of Kun, and it's only going to make Nitros stronger, to be honest. But I think the funniest thing is the fallout Kun has had, where Kun was obviously quite mad about this, and that he got cut, basically. And Kun then demanded Hiss found him a new team to play for, which Hiss just said, no, fuck off. Look, I know it sucks, but I'm not going to find you a new team. I'm not your bitch or whatever. And then Kun like posting on the forums demanding a top 8 team and stuff, and it all got pretty embarrassing.
I just want to point out as well, we've just got to 8 teams that we've spoken about. So Quinn's demanding to be in one of those 8 teams.
Sorry, Greg, you had a good run and all, but it's time to step aside.
Well, Boomy's not going, so maybe if Kun's good at Soldier, he could make Nat step in.
Right, so yeah, that's pretty much the news about Nitros. I think what they're giving them is a couple of LAN tickets and funding for Evil Moon to go, which is pretty fucking decent.
They were going to pay for Kun's travel as well. As far as I'm aware.
Yeah, which is pretty amazing for a team that, you know, I'd say is Div 1, trying to progress forwards, obviously, but at the moment...
that travel comment, because the whole thing he said when he was like top 8 team was otherwise he was going to cancel his flight, and I think his flight would already been cancelled surely if Nitros paid for it.
Maybe they plan to pay him back.
Yeah, maybe they plan to pay him back, so he's still like in charge.
Mayhaps. Okay, fair enough.
But either way...
Yeah, so their lineup at the LAN event is going to be on Medic, Evil Moon. Pocket Soldier is... what's their second soldier? Trax, Antic, and... I'm trying to remember. Cyber, yeah. So Cyber's Pocket, is he? I don't know which one's which.
Cyber is just killing everyone all the time while the rest do whatever.
Yeah, I think Cyber's Pocket, and then Trax Antic's roaming. Demo Man is Hiss, and the 2 scouts are Drozophile and Donut. So, about that team, obviously a few of them have been to LAN before together, or been like Drozo goes to most LAN events. As for where they would actually finish, you'd take a look at the lineup. They've been getting half decent results online, and they've been giving, the likes of us some decent games. I don't know if you've played them recently, Cadus, but like I don't feel that they'll end up breaking, the Prem teams, if you see what I mean by that, personally. And I feel they'll get, 8th or 9th or something like that position.
Yeah, I think they're probably going to be shocked because I don't know, like the last time we played them with TCM, it was like we lost to them in a warm up for like a game against Infused that we eventually went on to win, and I think they're kind of have to be. I don't know. I've seen the screenshot about 30 times since then, which gives me the impression they're taking it to heart maybe a bit too much. I think they might be quite surprised when they come up against these Prem teams in a serious environment. So I don't know. I hope they're kind of prepared.
I think they. Go for it, Zavi.
I think what happens is basically Droso and Donut have pretty good aim. Like they hit a lot of shots, but they're not the most intelligent scouts. So what happens is when they play the lower, not as experienced teams, that scout DM kind of helps carry them through a lot. But then, of course, when they hit like the Prem teams, where suddenly their scouts are equal or lower than, they don't have that like easy advantage, and the rest of the team gets really exposed. Because I think out of the heavy classes and medic, Cyber's the only one who's any good, to be honest.
Evil Moon's a good medic, I think, personally. But yeah, I completely agree with what you guys have said. Like, I think they're looking into PCW results way too much, which a lot of teams is less making the step up between like Div 1 and Prem do. They get one good result against a Prem team and they go, oh, we're now Prem, we're now the best in the world.
Syndrome.
So I think they're looking into everything a little bit too much, and I think they're going to get a shock when they get like destroyed by some of these teams on LAN who are going to just man the fuck up and just take them down pretty simply. Yeah, I think that's all we've got to say really about Nitros. Anything else to add, guys?
I just want to add aggressive midget porn to the conversation.
What?
I've just looked at the stream and it's like the top left tab says browser says aggressive midget porn.
Damn it, Skyride, can't you wait till after the show?
Let's us talk about the next team, the other team I wanted to mention, which is just Avenue or Deserto, as they're now called. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to get this team wrong. On Medic, they got I'd Like to Spin. On Pocket Soldier, they have... I don't actually remember who their soldiers are whatsoever.
It's Jackal. I like how me and Kay both sat and just gone, we could step in at any point.
Yeah.
Break out, or we would like to consent to sit here sipping away, just going, let's fucking flounder for a while. Let's see how this goes for Greg.
Do you want to tell me who their other soldier as well?
Should I take over? The Pocket is Jackal. The Roan is Snipis, however you say it. The demo is War. And the Scouts, it will be... I can't remember who the other Scout is. But basically... Yeah, Stark, and it was going to be Tack, but Tack has broken his hand and now can't go. So Autobot's very own Crouton is making a big step up to LAN Hero.
LAN Hero. Wow. Brilliant. Keep going, Zavi.
That is the lineup. I think the standout players are pretty obvious. It's War on Demo, Stark on Scout. Crouton is good at his support role, but I feel like Snipis is... He's like I feel like he plays a bit like Dan. Like he's really predictable. You see him coming a mile off, and I feel like as a team, their comms are really rubbish. They just don't talk to each other enough and let each other know what's going on or what they want to do, and that hurts them a lot.
Do you not reckon Crouton might change that when he goes into the team? Make people say stuff?
Crouton comms well, but he's not really like most of the time. He's more of like a passive role in comms, if that makes sense. Like. Okay. He does his comms and supports the comms, but he's not going to take over. And Crouton sometimes gets quite lost when he doesn't know where his combo is. It can kind of like throw him off his game.
Okay, so
you guys reading ISP about Tack broke his hand?
No, go on, read it out. So
Stark Tack was splashing in a pool like a retard and drifted to the shallow end. He broke his hand on the floor.
Biggest hand TF2 has ever seen. Breaks his hand in a pool.
Oh god, right. So I think having Crouton in that team, he's a good scout. I personally would think that that's going to make them slightly worse. Obviously, they've been playing with Tack for so long. So, what were you going to say, Zavi?
I think Tack's really bad, so I think
Do
replacing
you?
Tack. Yeah.
Okay,
That's,
well, you
that's,
reckon
just even,
British-
that's not even my bias towards Grudon. I just think Tack's really not very good. So
All right.
anyone else around that level replacing him's gonna help them.
Yeah,
I am.
Yeah, unfortunately for this team, I don't see them breaking any of the top 7. Maybe beating Quarantine or Punchline, but that's definitely it, in my opinion. The same as Nitros, really. I feel that this team is better than Nitros, personally. So yeah, so that's basically that. We've talked about all 9 teams now. Cadis, do you want to talk about the team quickly before we move on to our predictions?
Sure, they're alright, but they ain't great.
Brilliant. Right. Let us now talk about our top 3. Let's do top 3. In fact, let's do top 3. I think the rest of them is kind of out of the question. So Cadis, why don't you do a top 3 for me, please?
Epsilon, Mix Up, and I'm gonna say Infused. I'm
Okay.
kind of leaving TCM out of it because there's just no point predicting anything involving us.
Yeah. Zavi, what do you think?
I'm gonna go Epsilon, Mix Up, and then it really comes down to whoever plays better on the day out of the other 3. I'm gonna go TCM as long as Cadus is rich, doesn't have a bitch fit or anything like
Yeah.
that.
Okay, I'm gonna go a little bit differently. I think I'm gonna go Epsilon, Infused, LG. I think.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Greg's setting himself up for defeat. Holy shit.
So I'm setting myself up for a bit of a better prediction. After last time when Flow messed us all over, didn't they? Like, I'm gonna get myself some actual prediction points this time around. Right, we've gone fucking forever during this podcast, so let us wrap it up. We will be doing a live podcast at iSeries on the Saturday night, probably around 10 o'clock, I think it'll be English time. I'm not 100% whatsoever when it'll be. Kind of depends when all the games finish. We're all going to have fun.
It will be shorter than this one.
Yeah, it'll be much shorter than because we'll
I
be
think-
drinking the whole time as well.
I think the plan is we do it like basically the last game of the day will finish around about the same time, and then we're going to try and assemble and maybe grab a couple of people and go live and just sort of do like an update of what's happened at LAN.
Yeah, chill out, chat about what's going on, find out some results ourselves, because obviously we don't see everything while we're playing, that sort of thing. One more thing that we haven't talked about in the actual official podcast, Zavi's PM me saying worst poster thing. I have no fucking idea what that means. So,
Well, basically, all the time, basically, there's just like horrendous posts that go on across ETF2L, across all the different forums that are all really embarrassing, and I don't think they get enough attention for how ridiculous and shit these people are, and how they should be highlighted as idiots, really. I've got like a list here. I think I'm just going to post the entire list in and just pick out a few. I think... Okay, cool. Right, I'm going to start at the top then. It was this Qlit guy who posted on Team Fortress TV, who basically just raged about Invite. On the Clockwork's Ask Me Anything thread, he just raged about how all the Invite players like are shit, except for like the top 3 teams. All the others are shit, and why are no good players? To which Clockwork just called him an ugly idiot, really. And secondly, also from Team Fortress TV, was this one, which I thought was a troll at first. But it was a guy going, when do you think esports will be at the Olympics? It sounds like a really like alright troll, but he was quite genuine at what point he thought esports would make that step up to the Olympics. So I don't know if you guys have any predictions on when TF2 will be at the Olympic Games.
You know that they were really trying to get it in China. They were literally trying their hardest to get 1.6 into the Olympics. Like, it was, I think they were pretty close apparently to getting it there, but I doubt it's ever going to get there. Like, how can esports be considered an Olympic sport?
Can you imagine like Tyrone walking alongside Usain Bolt on like the opening ceremony or something? It's like those players coming one after the other, just like, there's Usain Bolt. Here comes the American team. There's like, oh look, there's Tyrone. Tyrone.
Are you not aware that Tyrone is not Jamaican?
Yeah, but
or you're not aware that they
walk
walk in as with their nations?
I know they walk in, but I don't think of any American
top athletes.
He's Japanese. I just told you.
Imagine me like having to get a guest, right? Because I worked, for those of you that don't know, I worked at the Olympics. Like I'd have to go get a guest, and it's turned out it's Shintaz. Epsilon have won. You know, Team England have won. Shintaz, come on in, mate. Let's get you live on Sky News. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
The peak of athleticism.
Yeah, so I actually had a conversation with one of the guys at work about this, and it turns out that chess is a recognised sport by the Olympic Association, but isn't in the Olympics yet. So I think they get chess in before they get esports. There you go. That's my opinion, guys.
So that's your top tip if you want to be the next Olympics is get practice in chess.
Or you could just learn how to, get practicing at something that's already in the Olympics, Savvy. You don't have to practice something that's not in it yet.
Rather than trying to get a sport in so you can be in there. Yeah, I thought that was quite ridiculous, and I also find it ridiculous how all the replying comments weren't all "you're an idiot." Like it actually turned into a semi-decent discussion about how it is. Are people really considering this idea? Maybe. I don't know. The next one is from the NA TF2 forums, where for some reason some semi-reputable guy, he plays intermediate in America, which is Div 1 over here, posted a list of everyone on his friends list and how he knows them. Just for no reason. Just, these are all my friends. Here's how I met them. Here's the teams I played on with them. And I don't know. I literally...
Is he full on autistic or something?
It's kind of like a plea for attention, but
This is the winner, man. I just came back. This is the winner.
I don't know. There's a few others. I want to keep going down in order list.
Let's get to the European ones now. I think I can see.
That's the American entries. This is EU versus America, the first sort of ground it's going on. The next one is I think this one could win. This is Hawku, who's got 2 entries this week, which is pretty impressive in itself, to be honest. But asking if he can beatbox on the I-46 stage, in between maps.
I remember reading this and thinking, what the actual fuck?
Yeah, his argument was he was top 40. It's top 40 in the UK. It's that's quite impressive. But then I thought, how many beatboxers can you name? How many beatboxers can anyone name that are famous or reputable?
I don't think there can be many more than 50 beatboxers or even ranked in the UK.
And it's just again, this was met with semi-serious replies. Maybe you could do it with arcs or something. It was just what? No. It was just this has nothing to do with TF2. And even if it did, it'd still have to be a resounding no. Sure, I don't know how what his idea was, that he wants to turn the I-46 TF2 final into his X Factor audition or whatever. I don't.
Oh god. Let's keep going, Xavi. Let's talk about the other ones.
His second entry was again from Hawku, just getting mad about scouts on DM. Basically, he's going, they just jump into me and just you never play like that in a game. You never do that in a game. What's the point of playing like that? To which everyone just went, you're an idiot. It's DM. Get over it. I don't
that thread.
I just don't understand. Sure, it can be kind of frustrating. I don't like snipers in DM, but I never get if it's really that big a deal, I just go, you know what? I'm going to stop playing DM right now. I'm going to no longer continue upsetting myself with this DM server, rather than just sitting there getting madder and madder to the point where I need to tell everyone on ETF2L about it. And Samji also points out I never play DM quite clearly. Yeah, that's sort of... The final entry is Kun's ETF2L post demanding top 8, which is talked about earlier. But top 8 only, guys. Which in itself is ridiculous because the top 8. I was me and Gage were saying, there's no way a top 8 team would not have a scout this close to the event and then Tacted break his hand 2 days before Kun asked for this. But yeah, it's still ridiculous. I don't know how Kun views himself, but it's clearly not the same way as everyone else in TF2 views him.
Okay. Well, are we going to vote who we think is the most the retarded one of the season, or the season, or the week even, or whatever's going on?
It's only 1 week, Craig.
Yeah, Jesus.
Within a 7-day period, this is what people will have come up with. I don't think the
IRC votes are working, so we're just going to have to declare our own winner. I'm personally going to go for the beatboxing one. I think.
Well, we can just get people to vote, right? So, as we got the stream up now, so the first one is the Clockwork AMA, which was the person saying retarded shit about invite. So if you want that to win, number 1, and the second one's do you think the Olympics, so that the Olympics should be esports should be in the Olympics, number 2. Next one's every single person in this friends list, number 3. Possible I-46, which one's that? Oh, that's the main stage beatboxing, number 4. Then move on to the other one, number 5, which is message scouts for DM. So that's number 5, and then number 6 is the Quinn one. So 1 to 6, guys, is your choice. Is there even 6? Yeah, 1 to 6.
Yeah.
I know which one I'm going for. I am going to easily vote for number 4 because that is fucking retarded.
For beatboxing. Maybe we should have a talent show. Does anyone else have any talents? We could have we could do like a tournament structure. We could have like beatboxing, and then some guy like, I don't know, Bike could come on with his dog and they could perform tricks. I don't know. Maybe it could work if there's enough. Yeah, Mike could do unicycling. Skeege with an excellent suggestion. We could have like a TF2 like collaboration between all the most talented people in TF2.
Right, we've taken fucking forever, Zavi. I think, judging by this, it's a close one between Quinn. I think, in fact, Quinn's going to take it down. That's quite a few 6s there.
I don't know. I think 3 might have taken it. The friends list one.
Well, what did you want to? What did you think? Which one's your vote?
I voted for 4. I voted for the beatboxing.
Yeah,
beatboxing. My favorite. We both voted for it, but I think
Cadus is a friends one. A friend. He's voted for that. I don't know if he's still here. I think he might have gone.
I think we should go for friends then. I think friends is just
friends has taken it down. Yeah. So congratulations to the random intermediate player from NATF2 for the most retarded post of the week. Wow. Oh,
I think we're absolutely fucking done.
Yeah, we've taken forever with this. Jesus Christ. We should have done like and everything else in 2 different
like
ones.
a special or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
It's all good. Let's see you guys at I-46. Do come and check us out. And after all the games finish, we'll be on the TF2 stage, chilling out and chatting about what's gone on during the day. So see you then.